The sun beat down on the boardwalk as she stepped from the dusty road. Her boots scuffed the ground, leather scraping against the grit. She carried only a worn satchel, and her old car rattled slowly behind her, drawing eyes and whispers. "Well, would you look at that?" a woman murmured, fingering her bonnet. "Think she's lost?" another asked, laughter hidden behind a hand. She kept her gaze low, fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. Her stomach twisted with every glance. "Bless my soul. That dress, did she dig it from a ditch?" The first woman snickered, louder now. She swallowed, pressing past the group. "Excuse me," she murmured, voice barely audible. The sheriff leaned against the post outside the jail, hat tipped low. He watched but did not speak. "Going somewhere, stranger?" one of the saloon girls called, tossing her hair. "Hope you're not staying for supper." She shook her head, cheeks burning. "I'm just passing through." "Passing through, huh?" another chimed. "We don't get folk like you very often." She clutched her satchel tighter, moving faster, boots kicking up little clouds of dust. Her hands trembled. From across the street, a man's shadow fell long in the afternoon light. A tall cowboy, hat low, eyes steady, watching her without a word. His presence was calm, a contrast to the sneers and murmurs crowding the boardwalk. "Don't they teach manners anymore?" one woman whispered. "They must be new in town," another replied. Her heart thumped. "Please, I only want to pass," she said quietly, eyes down. The first woman laughed. "Oh, you'll pass. Just not unnoticed. Look at her shoes, patched twice, maybe thrice. And that hair." "Ignore them," the cowboy muttered from the corner, voice low but firm. She startled, glancing toward him. His gaze met hers for a heartbeat, steady, unjudging. "They don't know you," he said. "Ain't worth your worry." Her throat tightened. I just want to get out," she stammered. "Then go," he said. "Keep walking. Don't let their words settle on your back." The group of women laughed again, louder now, chanting a rhyme about her bonnet and boots. Her cheeks flamed as she hurried past, wishing the earth would swallow her. "Look at her run," one girl called. "She's as nervous as a colt." She felt the sting of tears, but she did not stop. Each step carried the weight of humiliation, and yet somewhere, the cowboy's calm eyes held a small shield of comfort. "Not much for talk, are you?" she asked under her breath, moving past the shops. "You'll see," he said softly. "Sometimes quiet is stronger than noise." She risked a glance over her shoulder. He was still there, watching, a shadow of protection in the harsh sun. Her fingers grazed the satchel, knuckles white. The smell of dust, hay, and the distant river mingled in the air. She walked faster, boots scraping wood and stone, heart pounding. "Don't let them follow you," the cowboy called once more. "They will," she whispered, voice trembling. "They always do." He shook his head, tipping his hat slightly. "Not this time. Keep your head high. They'll see what they want, but you keep what matters." The boardwalk ended, leading toward the outskirts. She paused, catching her breath, heart still racing. The town's mocking eyes still lingered, but the cowboy's quiet presence pulled her forward. For the first time since entering the town, she felt a flicker of something she had not dared to name: safety. The shadow held, steady, patient. And she knew the road ahead would not be easy. But somewhere in that quiet strength, a spark of hope had taken root. She approached the inn, boots scraping the wooden porch. The sign swung in the wind, creaking softly. "Evenin', ma'am," the landlord said, squinting at her through a thin veil of dust. "We ain't got no room for strangers like you." "Please," she said, voice trembling. "Just one night. I'll pay." "Can't help you," he replied, shaking his head. "All full. No exceptions." She swallowed hard, feeling her chest tighten. "Is there anywhere else? A barn, maybe?" "Not on my watch," he said, brushing past her. "You best move along." Outside, a gust of wind swept dust across the street. She shivered, drawing her shawl tighter. Children pointed from the corner, giggling. "Look at her," one said. "She's all funny." "Funny how?" another asked, whispering loud enough for her to hear. She kept her eyes down, heart pounding, hands clutching the satchel. Hunger gnawed at her, fatigue pressed into her shoulders like stone. "You'll freeze out here," an older woman muttered, fanning her dress in disdain. "And she don't even look proper." A wagon rumbled past, and water sloshed from a bucket. It tipped, soaking her boots and the hem of her dress. She cried out, stumbling to her knees. The town erupted in laughter. "Clumsy thing," a boy shouted. "Can't even walk straight." She pressed her hands to the wet fabric, face burning. "Stop," she whispered, voice small. "Please stop." A quiet voice, calm and measured, called from across the street. "You'll catch your death out here alone." She froze, looking up. The cowboy stood a few steps away, tall and steady, hat tilted low over his eyes. His hand extended, patient and unhurried. Who are you?" she asked, voice uncertain. "Someone who don't take kindly to seeing folks suffer," he said simply.
"Come on."
"This street's no place for you." She hesitated, gaze flicking back to the mocking crowd.
I
don't know if I should." "Trust me," he interrupted, nodding once. "I won't let anyone hurt you while I'm here." Her fingers trembled as she grasped his hand. Strength and warmth grounded her, a steady contrast to the cruel wind and laughing voices. "Thank you," she said softly. "Don't thank me yet," he replied, voice low but firm. "Keep your head up. Ain't done walking." They moved toward the edge of town. Dust swirled at their boots, catching in the sunlight like tiny sparks. She looked back at the inn, the boardwalk, the sneering faces, and felt the weight of fear pressing down again. "They don't like strangers," she murmured. "Most folks don't," he said. "But doesn't mean you're wrong to be here." Her fingers loosened on his hand, resting against the rough fabric of his coat. "I don't know if I can fit in anywhere." "You fit where folks care," he said. "And you'll find that soon enough." A wagon rolled past, stirring the dust. Children's laughter trailed behind them like a shadow she could not shake. Her boots squished in the wet sand, and the smell of damp earth rose around her. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, voice barely audible. "To a place you can rest," he said. "Not much, but better than freezing here." She hesitated again, glancing back at the town's main street. The women muttered, pointing fingers. The men ignored her, indifferent. The wind tugged at her dress, carrying dust into her hair. "You sure?" she asked, doubt lacing each word. "I'm sure," he said. "Come on." Her heart raced as she followed him. Step by step, he led her away from the cruel faces and mocking laughter toward a narrow trail that left the town behind. Her breath caught in her throat, hope and fear twisting together. The cowboy's steady presence remained at her side, silent but unyielding, a tether to safety she had not known she needed. For the first time since entering the town, she felt a thread of security. Yet the question lingered, heavy in her chest. Could she trust this stranger, or would the cruelty of the world follow her still? She walked on, boots sinking into the dusty trail, the town's noise fading, the cowboy's shadow stretching long in the late afternoon sun. The ranch spread before her like a quiet promise. Wooden fences marked pastures, and the smell of hay mixed with the sharp tang of distant cattle. "Welcome," the cowboy said, voice calm, hat tipped low. "This is home for now." "It's quiet," she whispered, eyes tracing the barns and pens. "Quiet suits some folks," he replied, lifting the latch on a gate. "Come see the horses." She stepped inside the barn, boots creaking on the wood. "They're beautiful," she said, reaching out to stroke a chestnut mare's neck. "They'll trust you if you move slow," he said. "No sudden hands, no loud words." She nodded, her fingers brushing the horse's coat. "I've never worked with animals like this." "You'll learn," he said simply. "Nothing to fear." He handed her a bucket. "Feed them first. Water too. Start slow." She knelt, filling troughs, the wood rough under her palms. "Like this?" "That's it," he said, voice low, approving. "Good hands. Careful now with the smaller ones." Hours passed in the rhythm of chores. She mended fences, carried hay, and refilled troughs. He showed her without words, gestures, and patient looks guiding each motion. "You don't have to explain yourself here," he said, passing her a cloth to wipe her hands. "I feel strange asking for help," she admitted. Her voice was soft, almost lost in the lowing of cattle. "You'll get used to it," he said. "Ain't no shame in needing a hand." She noticed the small kindnesses. He set a lantern in the corner, casting a warm glow over the stall. A coat appeared when a gust of wind swept cold through the barn. She took the offered cup of water, hands brushing his briefly. "Thank you," she murmured, almost too quiet to hear. "Don't thank me," he said. "Do what feels right for you. Rest comes after." Night fell slowly, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. They moved to the main cabin, the fire crackling as she sank into the nearest chair. "You'll sleep better if you settle," he said, adding another log to the flames. "I can't stop thinking about the town," she whispered. All the laughter and stares. He sat nearby, quiet, hands resting on his knees. They judged what they didn't know. "Ain't yours to carry." Her eyes filled, tears slipping unnoticed down her cheeks. "It feels heavy," she admitted, voice breaking. "It is heavy," he said softly. "But you're not alone anymore." She dabbed at her cheeks, looking down. "I didn't expect kindness," she said. "Not like this." "Kindness is quiet," he said. "It doesn't demand attention. Just notice it when it's offered." She watched him, tending the fire, movements careful and steady. The warmth of the cabin, the soft glow, and the steady presence of the cowboy created a fragile comfort. "You can stay here as long as you need," he said. "No questions. No judgment." She stopped, unsure how to respond. Words failed her, swallowed by the flicker of firelight. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees. The distant town lights blinked faintly on the horizon, a reminder of cruelty that still waited. Yet inside, the lantern's glow and the crackling fire offered a quiet refuge. "Will the town notice I'm gone?" she asked. "They'll notice," he said, voice steady. "But they'll just be watching shadows. You'll be doing your own work." "I never thought anyone could," she trailed off, eyes catching on a simple wooden chair beside the fire. She sank into it, feeling small but safe. "Thought what?" he asked, glancing up without breaking his rhythm. "That someone could see me without judging," she said softly. He nodded once. "People see what they want. Sometimes you have to show them what's real by living it." She leaned back, listening to the crackle of flames, the low breathing of horses in the barn, and the whispering wind outside. For the first time, the weight pressing down on her chest eased slightly. The night stretched on, slow and steady. She imagined a life where she could work, learn, and rest without fear. A fragile thread of hope had woven itself through her heart, small but unbroken. The cowboy tended the fire quietly, not speaking unless needed. She realized that trust could arrive in silence, in steady hands, in patience. And though the distant lights of the town flickered like stubborn ghosts, here, she had shelter, safety, and the beginning of a quiet peace. The morning sun stretched across the pasture, dust rising from hooves as the horses stirred. "Today we start with saddling," the cowboy said, holding a worn leather saddle. "Take it slow. Let them get used to your touch." She nodded, fingers brushing over the leather. "Like this? Careful with the straps." "Don't rush," he replied, stepping close to guide her hands.
"There. See?
Easy." The mare lifted her head, sniffing the air. She laughed softly as the animal nuzzled her palm. "You're doing fine," he said, tilting his hat back. "Steady hands, steady heart." She smiled, a small light breaking through. "I never thought I'd enjoy this." "Most don't until they try," he said. "You'll learn fast if you keep patient." She carried buckets of feed next, dust puffing around her boots. "Does it always smell like this?" she asked, motioning to the hay. "Always," he said, chuckling softly. "Smell of work, smell of life. Keeps the mind sharp." She placed the feed carefully in the trough, glancing at the foal that had wandered near. "This one's curious." "Curiosity's good," he said. "Helps them learn." Helps folks, too. The foal approached cautiously, nose twitching. She extended a hand. It nuzzled gently, and she laughed aloud, startling herself with the sound. You laugh like you mean it, he said. Haven't heard that in a while. I didn't know I still could, she admitted, brushing dust from her dress. The cowboy nodded, offering a small smile. Kindness comes quiet. Sometimes it's the little things that matter. A child appeared near the fence, peeking through the rails. Ma'am, is it true you live out here? He asked, voice low. Yes, she said cautiously. For now. The boy glanced at the cowboy. Heard the town talking. Say, some folks are mean. They're always talking, the cowboy said, voice firm. Don't let words follow you. You're here to work, to learn, to rest. She pressed a hand to her chest. Letters come too, she murmured. From travelers. Things people say, things they whisper. Don't let it bother you, he said. Not here. Not where you're safe. She bent to check a knot in the fence rope, fumbling slightly. He stepped over, guiding her fingers over the twine.
See? Just like that.
Strong, careful. Not hard. Thank you, she said softly. Keep at it, he replied. You'll get the hang of everything, one step at a time. The sun climbed higher, warming her shoulders. She glanced at the foal, now grazing nearby, tail flicking lazily. A faint wind carried dust across the field, shimmering in sunlight. At night, the fire crackled in the cabin. She sank into the chair, eyes catching the handmade shawl draped neatly over the arm. Fingers traced the soft fabric. Who made this? She asked, voice quiet, almost reverent. No one said, the cowboy said, adding wood to the fire. Sometimes things are done for folks without words. You'll notice it. She wrapped it around her shoulders, feeling a warmth beyond the flames. It feels like someone cares. Caring's quiet, he said. Doesn't need announcing. Her eyes fell to the window, toward the distant lights of the town. Shadows lingered in the corners of her thoughts. Even here, she said softly. Even out here, I can feel it. You'll learn to leave it behind, he said. One day at a time. The world can be cruel, but you're stronger than you know. A soft breeze rattled the shutters. She tucked her hair behind her ears, looking at the firelight dancing across the walls. I've never had a place like this, she admitted. You'll keep it, he said. If you want it. Nobody can take what you build here. Her lips curved in a small smile, eyes reflecting the flames. She traced the shawl again, noticing each stitch. It's beautiful, she whispered. Looks like you, he said quietly. Quiet strength, gentle hands. She rested back, the weight of days spent in town pressing against her less. The foal's soft nicker and the distant lowing of cattle drifted through the night, blending with the fire's warmth. The cowboy moved around the cabin, tending the fire, adjusting the lantern, keeping everything simple, steady. She watched him, learning that protection could be silent, that kindness could be quiet but firm. Outside, the wind stirred the dust, a whisper of the town she had left behind. She wrapped the shawl tighter, imagining herself strong and steady, even as shadows lingered. The ranch smelled of hay, wood, and faint smoke. The night was calm, the fire bright, and for the first time, she felt a fragile sense of hope threading through her chest. The distant town lights flickered, faint and unthreatening, while inside, a quiet refuge held her steady. And she knew, though cruelty waited beyond the horizon, small acts of kindness could carve a life worth living. The morning light spilled across the ranch, dust drifting lazily over the fences. She was gathering hay when she heard shouts from the edge of the pasture. Look at her, a boy called. She's ugly. She can't even ride, another shouted, hurling a small stone that skittered across the ground near her boots. She froze, heart thudding, hands tightening around the bale. Stop, please, she whispered, voice trembling. The stones kept coming, clattering against the fence. Go away, she cried, stepping back. From the corner of her eye, the cowboy appeared, moving quietly but with an unmistakable authority. He planted himself between her and the children, boots firm in the dirt. "You done enough," he said, voice low, calm, but carrying a weight that made them pause. Who are you to tell us?" one boy demanded, stone still in hand. "I'm the one making sure nobody gets hurt here," he replied, gaze steady, voice firm. "Move along." The children faltered, glancing at each other. The tallest girl swallowed and said, We weren't hurting anyone." "You were," he said, eyes unyielding. "And you'll remember that next time you think of throwing stones at folks who don't bother you." Silence stretched, broken only by the creak of the fence and the soft lowing of cattle. Slowly, the children turned, muttering under their breaths, then retreated toward the edge of the ranch. She exhaled, knees weak, fingers brushing at her hair. "Thank you," she said softly, voice catching. "No need," he replied, tilting his hat back. "You've got nothing to prove by fighting them." She watched him, awe and gratitude mingling in her chest. I never realized someone could just stand there like that." "They don't always need to fight," he said. "Sometimes quiet strength is stronger than a yell." Her hands lingered on the fence. "I want to learn that," she murmured, eyes tracing the rails. "Then we'll work on it," he said. Fence, lanterns, chores. Step by step. She followed him to the barn. Together, they repaired a broken lantern that had hung crooked for weeks. She held the glass as he fixed the frame, their hands brushing as he guided her. "Careful," he said, voice soft but steady. "One crack it won't hold." "I see," she said, adjusting her grip. "Like this?" "Better," he replied, approving with a nod. "Good hands. Steady." Next, they tackled the stubborn fence that had refused repair for days. Nails bent, wood splintered, yet step by step, together, they mended it. She hammered carefully, sweat trickling down her brow. "You've got the hang of this," he said, stepping back to inspect their work. I think I do," she replied, glancing at the smooth rails. A small smile tugged at her lips. "That's progress," he said, voice low but proud. "Small victories matter as much as big ones." The afternoon sun slanted across the fields. She paused to watch the horses grazing, tail flicking lazily. The wind carried dust across the pasture, and she inhaled, feeling strength return to her chest. "The town," she said slowly. "I feel like it's still waiting." "It is," he said, picking up a loose rope. "But you're stronger than you think. You don't need to face them alone." She nodded, brushing a hand across the repaired fence. "I didn't know I could feel this steady." "Steadiness comes from knowing someone's got your back," he said, voice soft. "And from knowing you can handle the work in front of you." She adjusted the lanterns, checking each one, thinking of how even small tasks carried meaning. She looked at the repaired fence, then at the barn, the foal resting nearby, the soft swish of tails, and the gentle breeze. "It feels different," she said quietly. "Like I'm building something, not just fixing fences." "You are," he said, voice steady. "Everything here matters. Every task, every small hand, every careful step." The distant town flickered on the horizon, lights tiny against the sprawling plains. She gazed at them, recognizing the shadow of confrontation that waited. Yet for the first time, fear mixed with something else. Confidence, quiet and resilient. "They'll come," she murmured. "I can feel it." "They might," he said, picking up the hammer. "But you've got what it takes to meet them. Step by step, just like today." Her fingers lingered on the wood, tracing the smooth lines of the repaired fence. She felt the day's work settle into her bones, a quiet triumph. The wind rustled through the grass. The lanterns glowed, soft and steady, casting warmth on their faces. She exhaled, chest lightened, and realized her courage had grown alongside the repaired structures. "Thank you," she said again, softer this time, "for everything today." He shook his head. "No thanks needed. Keep doing right, and you'll notice your own strength." She stood tall, hands brushing the dust from her dress, eyes lingering on the distant town. The shadows of cruelty waited, yes, but she had learned something. She could face them without fear. And for the first time, she felt the weight of past humiliation loosen in the wind, mingling with the quiet triumph of a day's honest work. The morning wind carried the scent of grass and hay as she adjusted the saddle on the mare. "Careful with the straps," the cowboy said, stepping close. "You don't want a loose cinch." "I think I'm getting better at this," she said, brushing her fingers along the leather. "You are," he said, nodding. "Steady hands. That's half the work." She paused, watching him tighten a rope on the fence. "You always this patient?" she asked quietly. "Patience comes from knowing what matters," he said, "and from knowing who deserves it." She glanced at him, curiosity flickering. "Who deserves it?" "Folks who are willing to learn," he said, "and those who've had rough roads. Sometimes a steady hand helps more than words." Her fingers lingered on the saddle. "You've been through rough roads yourself?" He looked up at the horizon, the sun slanting over the pastures. "Yes," he said slowly. "Lost my ma when I was young. Learned from her kindness that you always stand for those who need it. Ain't about glory. It's about doing right." She swallowed, voice barely above a whisper. I've never had someone stand for me. Always judged, laughed at, pushed aside." He offered a hand over hers. "Then let's start here. Safe. Step by step." Her lips curved slightly. "Safe, it feels strange to say that." "Strange but true," he said, tipping his hat back. "You're learning to trust again." Later, two children approached the ranch, eyes wide with curiosity. "Can we help feed the horses?" the little girl asked. "You can," she said softly, kneeling beside the foal. "They're gentle, if you're careful." The children laughed as the foal nudged their hands. "It's soft," the boy exclaimed. "You're doing fine," she said, watching them.
See?
Horses noticed patience. They wandered toward the berry bushes beyond the fence. "Want to pick some?" she asked. "Yes," they chorused. Fingers brushed berries into their small hands. She laughed, the sound light and unrestrained. "You've got a good eye," the little girl said. "You found the sweetest ones." I guess I did," she said, smiling. A warmth spread through her chest, unfamiliar but welcome. Back by the barn, the cowboy leaned against the post, watching quietly. "Careful not to squish the berries," he said softly, almost a whisper. "I won't," she said. "They're small but important." The children ran ahead, chattering stories about imaginary adventures. She listened, laughter spilling freely, shoulders relaxing. "You're different with them," the cowboy said, stepping closer. "You're lighter, not weighed down by the town's eyes." I think I can be," she admitted. "They don't judge. They just enjoy." He nodded once. "That's how you'll learn. Joy comes in small steps." Evening painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. She mounted the mare, reins held loosely, feeling the rhythm of the animal beneath her. "Ready?" he asked, settling onto his horse beside her. "I think so," she said, heart fluttering. The wind tugged at her dress, brushing dust and loose strands of hair. They rode across the prairie, the sun dipping low. The horizon stretched endlessly, shadows lengthening over the grass. "You ride well," he said quietly. "Not every stranger does." "Maybe I'm learning," she said. "Not just with horses, with everything." "You are," he said, voice calm. "And the town they'll come. But you're stronger than when you arrived. You're ready." She glanced toward the distant lights of the town, flickering faintly. I think I'm ready," she murmured. The children's laughter still echoed in her mind, mingling with the soft lowing of cattle and the whisper of the prairie wind. She felt hope threading through her chest, delicate but growing. "See that," he said, pointing to the horizon where the sun kissed the grass. "Change comes slow, but it comes." "I see it," she said softly. "I see it and I want it." The ride continued in silence, save for the hooves against the soft earth. The ranch receded behind them, the prairie stretching wide, open, and unending. For the first time in years, she felt the wind against her face without fear, the rhythm of the horse beneath her, and the steady presence of someone she could trust. The sun dipped fully, shadows blending into twilight, and she realized she had begun to find her own strength, even before the town knew she would return. The morning sun warmed the ranch, but she could feel the tension even in the open air. "They've been talking," she said softly, wringing her hands over a bucket of water. "The town, the women at the saloon. They say things about me. Lies. They'll always say things they don't understand," the cowboy said, brushing dust from his boots. "Don't let it reach you. You're not what they think." She looked up, fear flickering across her face. "But what if they're right? What if I can't face them?" He stepped closer, voice calm, firm. "They judge what they don't know. You don't need to be what they think." Her shoulders eased slightly, though anxiety still clung to her. It's hard to forget the laughter, the stares. "Hard doesn't mean impossible," he said. "You've grown stronger than you think. Step by step, day by day." She traced the wooden rail of the fence. "A fair is coming," she murmured. "They'll expect me there. To see, to judge." "They'll see you," he said, voice low but steady. "But you'll be standing with your head high. Not for them, for yourself." Her chest tightened. "I don't know if I can. Even with you here, it's frightening." He placed a hand briefly on her shoulder. "You can. You've done harder things than standing in a crowd. Remember the foal? The fence? Every small victory counts." She exhaled slowly, nodding. "I suppose. I've learned something at the ranch." "I've learned," she hesitated, eyes searching his. "I've learned that someone can respect me, without judgment." "That's right," he said. "And you deserve that. Never forget it." She walked toward the barn, thoughts whirling. The town, they spread lies. They say I'm trouble, that I take attention, that I disrupt order. "They lie because it suits them," he said quietly. "You're not here to suit anyone. You're here to live rightly, to act kindly, to hold your ground without hate." Her fingers brushed a lantern on the post. Light glimmered off the glass. I want to face them, but I'm afraid I'll crumble." "You won't," he said. "Not this time. Stand tall. They'll see the truth in your actions, not their words." She bent, adjusting the rope on the fence, steadying herself in the familiar rhythm. "It's funny," she said softly. "I feel the fear, but I feel something else too, strength, a sort of quiet courage I didn't have before." "That courage was always inside," he said. "You've just learned to notice it." A gust of wind stirred dust along the pasture. She looked toward the horizon, where the town lay in heat waves, whispers carried on the wind. The fair loomed like a shadow, the crowd and the gossip waiting. "They'll be there," she said, voice barely above the rustle of grass. "Watching, judging, waiting for me to falter." "Let them watch," he said. "You won't falter. Not with what you've built here. Not with what you've learned." Her fingers lingered on the post, tracing the rough wood. "I've learned that I don't need their approval. I only need my own strength and the quiet truth of who I am." He nodded, tipping his hat back. "And the fair will show it. Step by step, like everything else." She straightened, lifting her chin. "Step by step," she echoed. I will go. I will face them." The wind tugged at her dress as she walked past the barn, dust curling around her boots. The horses nickered softly, as if sensing her resolve. "They'll see a different person," he said. "Not the one they judged before, but someone steady, patient, unshaken. Someone who doesn't need their mockery to define her." She breathed in, feeling the prairie air fill her lungs, carrying both fear and determination. "I think I'm ready," she said. "I may be afraid, but I'm ready." He placed a steadying hand on her back. "Then you're more prepared than you realize. The town's cruelty can't undo what you've built here. Not in the ranch, not in yourself." She glanced toward the distant town lights flickering like stubborn ghosts. The shadows of the fair seemed to stretch across the horizon, ominous and heavy. "But I'm ready to face them," she said, voice firm. "To stand without flinching. To show them what they can't take away. My dignity, my strength, my life." "You've got what it takes," he said quietly. "Every lesson, every small act of courage, Every quiet victory at the ranch has led you here. You'll do fine. Her gaze returned to the town. The dust swirled, lanterns glimmered faintly in the distance, and the voices of the past whispered on the wind. Yet she felt the ranch, the firelight, the quiet strength of someone who stood for her, supporting her every step. She drew a deep breath, letting the prairie air settle her nerves. "I will go," she said again more firmly. "I will face them, and I will not be broken." The cowboy gave a small nod, eyes steady. "Then let's ride toward that fair. Step by step. Together, if you wish. You've earned the courage to meet them." She lifted her head, chest steady, eyes brightening with the first full spark of unshakable resolve. The town waited, but so did she, ready to carry herself forward with dignity and to show the strength that had quietly grown within her. The sun baked the dusty main street as she stepped onto the fairgrounds, her dress plain but clean, her hair tied back simply. "Look at her," a woman whispered loudly, nudging another. "She thinks she belongs here?" She kept her eyes forward, clutching the basket of ribbons she'd been asked to display. "Ignore them," she murmured to herself, though her hands trembled. A boy ran past, splashing a bucket of water near her boots. She gasped, stepping back as the cold soaked her dress.
Stop.
"Please." Laughter rose from the crowd. Women jeered, pointing at her wet skirt. "Can't even stand straight," one sneered. "Pathetic." Her chest tightened, panic rising, vision narrowing to the wet hem of her dress. She wished the ground would swallow her whole. Then a shadow fell beside her. The cowboy stood quietly, hat low, eyes calm. He did not yell. He did not rush. He simply rested a hand on the wooden post near her, and the crowd quieted slightly. "She is under my protection," he said, voice steady, low but carrying across the fairgrounds. "This town's cruelty is noted. Any further mischief will be remembered." A hush swept the crowd. Mothers clutched children, gossiping women faltered mid-laugh. The power in his calm gaze silenced more than words could. She's under your protection?" a man whispered, eyes wide. "Yes," he replied simply. "Stand back. Treat her with the respect every human deserves." She looked up at him, heart racing, tears mingling with the water on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible. He nodded, not taking his eyes off the crowd. "You've nothing to prove. You've always been steady. Let them see that now." The children who had visited the ranch earlier peeked from behind stalls, eyes wide. "It's her," one murmured. "The lady at the ranch." She straightened slowly, shoulders lifting, chest tightening not with fear, but with resolve. I can stand," she said softly to herself. A man muttered something rude under his breath, and she felt the old familiar shame tingle along her spine. She closed her eyes briefly, took a deep breath, and opened them again. The cowboy's steady presence was enough. "Do they always behave like this?" she asked quietly. "They do," he said, voice calm. "But that does not make their cruelty right. You see the truth. They will learn if they notice it." Her fingers clutched the wet ribbon basket.
I feel it now.
"The difference. Their lies, their jeers. I can hold myself against them." "Exactly," he said. "Every step you've taken, every small victory on the ranch, brought you here. You are not the same as when they mocked you. They will see it, if they have eyes to notice." The water dripping from her hair and dress no longer seemed heavy. She set the basket down carefully, standing tall, feet planted in the dust. She stands straight," a woman muttered, disbelief creeping into her voice. "She does," another agreed. "Even wet, she doesn't flinch." The cowboy inclined his head toward her. "Go on," he said quietly. "Let them see you." She stepped forward slowly, letting the crowd's murmur wash over her. With each step, her chest lifted higher. No one shouted, no one pushed. The power of calm dignity carried her through. Her wet dress clung, hair damp, yet she felt lighter than she had in years. Each step erased a fraction of the humiliation she had carried for so long. "You've grown," the cowboy said quietly, just to her, voice carrying reassurance. They may not admit it yet, but their judgment is hollow. She nodded, breath steadying, eyes meeting the crowd with a quiet strength they had not seen before. "I am here," she whispered. "I am standing. I am not afraid." The town shifted uncomfortably, whispers spreading, as mothers and elders exchanged glances. The moral imbalance was visible, undeniable. For the first time, she noticed the fairness in her stance, the calm fire in her eyes. Her heart raced, not with panic, but with relief, hope, and the first taste of lasting dignity. The cowboy stepped back, giving her the center of the fair. "You've earned this," he said softly. "Stand tall. You've always had the right to." The sun reflected off the wet dust at her boots. Her chest rose and fell steadily, her hands no longer trembling. The past humiliation, though remembered, began to lift, replaced by a quiet pride that warmed her chest like sunlight on the prairie. She looked toward the horizon, beyond the fair, beyond the town. For the first time, the cruelty of others felt distant, powerless against the calm strength she had discovered. And in that moment, standing in the middle of a hostile town, drenched and mocked, she felt a weight shift. Humiliation met dignity. Fear met safety. She was no longer the woman they thought she was. She adjusted the leather strap on the saddle, testing the tension. "Is this too tight?" she asked, brushing dust from the mare's neck. "Just right," the cowboy said, standing close with a careful eye. "A little tighter, it pinches. Too loose, it slides. You've got a feel for it." "I think I'm learning," she said, fingers lingering on the worn leather. "I never thought I'd be able to handle this." "You're learning more than riding," he said quietly. "Patience, steadiness, seeing what needs to be done without rushing. That's just as important." She smiled faintly, watching the mare nuzzle the fence post. "I feel capable," she admitted. "It's strange to feel proud instead of afraid." "Pride earned is never wrong," he said. "Every time you fix a fence, feed the animals, or tend the barn, you prove something to yourself." Later, she knelt beside a foal, brushing its soft coat. "You've shown me more than I expected," she said softly. "Not just about animals, but about myself." He leaned on the post, eyes steady. "That's what the ranch does. Teaches through work and respect. Not everyone gets to learn it." "I've never had patience or respect given freely," she said. "I always had to earn it by hiding or staying small." "You don't have to hide here," he said. "Mistakes are okay. Effort counts. You've proven that." The children came running, laughing, baskets of berries in hand. "We picked the biggest ones," the little girl exclaimed. "And the juiciest," the boy added, grinning. "You did well," she said, smiling fully. "See? Even small victories matter. Each one builds something stronger." "Like you?" he asked quietly, voice low. She paused, brushing dirt from her sleeve. "Maybe. I feel stronger, steadier. I can face the town again, and not feel crushed by them." He nodded. "That's the difference between fear and confidence. Confidence isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, like you've learned here." She moved to the shed, examining a torn dress she'd found. "I'll mend this," she said. "It looks useless, but fixing it feels right." "You always see the value others overlook," he said. "That's why you'll endure. And why others will notice it eventually." She threaded the needle, small motions slow and deliberate. "Every stitch matters," she said. "Just like every day here matters." "Exactly," he said, watching her hands. "No day wasted. No moment wasted. You're learning what's important. Care, attention, and steady work." As dusk fell, she carried a lantern to the barn, the warm light spilling across the dust. "It's peaceful," she said softly. "I feel safe here. Truly safe." "That's earned too," he said, tipping his hat. "The world outside may judge, but here, you've built something that can't be taken away. Your effort, your strength, your calm." She sat on the porch steps, legs crossed, lantern beside her. The sky glowed orange and purple, the hills darkening with the setting sun. "I think I'm Learning to trust myself, she said quietly. To see that I'm enough. You are enough, he said firmly. And you've proven it. Not to the town. Not to anyone else. You've proven it to yourself. The children waved from the yard, their laughter soft in the evening air. She waved back, feeling warmth settle in her chest. The foal nuzzled her shoulder gently, as if sensing her quiet pride. She breathed deeply, the scent of hay and dust carrying a comfort she hadn't known in years. I never thought life could feel like this.
Calm.
Steady. Safe. That's what comes after storms, he said. After cruelty, after fear. You've built the calm with your own hands. She glanced toward the horizon, the last sun slipping below the hills. I can face the town now, she said, voice steady. I can meet them without fear. And I feel like I can stay strong, no matter what. The cowboy nodded, tipping his hat once more. That's the way forward. Step by step, day by day. You've done more than survive here. You've grown. She set the lantern down, watching the glow illuminate the porch. I feel proud of myself. And hopeful. That hope is yours, he said. It can't be taken. Not by the town, not by anyone. You've earned it. The prairie wind whispered through the trees, dust lifting softly along the fences. She felt the warmth of the lantern at her side, the strength in her hands, and the quiet security of someone who believed in her. For the first time in years, she felt complete, steady, and ready to face the world outside the ranch, yet content to stay in the sanctuary she had helped build. Dust swirled across the ranch yard as the town leaders rode up, boots clattering against the porch steps. The children stopped their games, eyes wide. You expect us to believe this is acceptable, the mayor said, folding his arms, eyes scanning the neat fences and the freshly repaired barn. After everything, after what we've heard. She stood beside the cowboy, hands clasped calmly in front of her. Everything you've heard is gossip, she said steadily. It doesn't define me, and it never did. The sheriff shifted uneasily. People talk for a reason. They talk because they misunderstand, she interrupted, voice firm. Because they judge what they do not know. I am not their words. I am my actions. The mayor glanced at the barn. And what has this woman done? I've tended these animals every day, she said, stepping forward. I've mended fences, cared for the children who visit here, kept this place in order. I have worked, contributed, and created value where you thought there was none. A sneer crept across one councilman's face. And you expect us to respect that? From someone we've laughed at. I do not ask for your laughter or approval, she said, voice rising slightly. I ask for acknowledgement of what is true. I am not a mistake or a spectacle. I am capable, I am steady, and I am here, unafraid. The cowboy, silent until now, adjusted his hat, eyes calm and unwavering. She speaks rightly. Stand aside and see the work, see the care, see the dignity. You cannot unmake it with your words. The mayor's eyes flicked to him. And you? You claim some authority here. I claim only respect for her, he said quietly. Nothing more. No law, no title, only the truth. And it is plain. She motioned toward the barn, doors wide open. Look at it, she said. Every board repaired, every nail driven carefully, every corner cleaned and safe. This barn is not perfect, but it is honest work, just as my days here have been honest and true. A gust of wind kicked up dust at their feet. The sheriff coughed, hiding unease. Children, he said, glancing at the little ones, who now peeked from behind the fence. They are safe, she said. I care for them. I teach them small joys, responsibility, kindness. They reflect what I've learned here, what I have grown into. This is not arrogance. It is reality. The councilman shifted, looking around at the tidy yard, the animals grazing calmly, the children smiling with quiet respect. And this, he murmured, this is your doing? Yes, she said. Every day, every effort, every careful act. She let her gaze sweep over the townspeople. If you had judged fairly before, you would have seen it sooner. But now the truth is plain. Cruelty does not define me. My actions do. A long pause followed. The wind stirred the dust, curling it along the fences, the barn, and the porch steps. Faces shifted, guilt and awe mingling in their expressions. I suppose we were wrong, the mayor admitted finally, voice low. Perhaps we misjudged. She nodded once, a calm smile crossing her face. You misjudged. But that is in the past. I cannot undo the cruelty, but I can stand in truth. I can show the strength that has grown from it. The sheriff nodded slowly. You've earned more than we realize. And what of her character? The councilman asked reluctantly. Is it truly honorable? She is honest, the cowboy said, stepping slightly forward, voice steady. She has built this place with care, guided young hearts with patience, and endured ridicule without bitterness. That is honor, plain and simple. The children waved shyly, small voices carrying across the yard. Thank you, one said, for helping us and teaching us. She knelt briefly, smiling warmly at them. You've helped me as much as I've helped you, she said. We learn from each other. The townspeople murmured among themselves, glances exchanged, shame creeping in at the recognition of their past cruelty. The truth was undeniable, visible in every corner of the ranch, every child's laugh, every repaired fence board. The cowboy stepped back, eyes on her, tipping his hat. No words were needed, pride and respect shone in his gaze. She met it, heart swelling with relief and triumph, the weight of humiliation lifting at last. I see now, the mayor said softly, lowering his hat. Your worth it is plain, and we cannot deny it. She straightened fully, sun catching the lantern light along the porch. Then let this be the lesson, she said calmly. Cruelty cannot define anyone. Only our actions, our care, and our strength define who we truly are. The councilman nodded slowly, eyes downcast. Indeed, it is plain now. She breathed deeply, the dust settling around her boots. The wind carried a quiet peace, the animals lowing in the pasture, the children laughing softly, and the ranch standing firm as a testament to resilience and moral truth. The cowboy stepped beside her once more, tipping his hat silently. His eyes held pride, respect, and calm approval. She felt it, felt the acknowledgement that went beyond words, the moral justice finally realized. She exhaled, shoulders relaxing for the first time in years. The journey from humiliation to dignity, from fear to strength, from cruelty to recognition, was complete. For a long moment, they stood side by side in the dust and the fading sunlight, the ranch alive with quiet triumph and the weight of the past finally lifting into the warm prairie air. The sun hung low over the prairie, painting the sky in shades of gold and soft rose. She moved slowly across the ranch yard, boots crunching in the dust. Morning's quiet today, she said, pausing to watch a calf nuzzle its mother. It's a good day, the cowboy said from the porch, hat tilted back, eyes calm. Quiet means safe. Quiet means steady. She smiled, feeling the warmth in her chest. I never thought quiet could feel so full. The children ran past, laughing, baskets of berries swinging from their hands. Miss, look what we found, the little girl called. He bent low to examine the basket, smiling. Good work, he said. You see? Effort always counts. She knelt beside them, brushing dust from their knees. And it's shared work, she said softly. I learn from you as much as you learn from me. One of the boys looked up at her with wide eyes. You're different now, he said. You're strong. I've had help, she admitted, glancing toward the cowboy. And I learned to trust myself. That's what changes a person. The cowboy nodded, eyes steady, observing without interruption. Trust is earned, even in yourself. And she's earned it every day, he said, voice quiet but firm. A mare trotted up, soft hooves kicking dust at her feet. She reached out, hand brushing the glossy coat. They always find me, she murmured, laughing softly. Animals, people, they sense what matters. Because you show them, he said. Not by words, but by care, patience, and steady action. A letter lay on the porch rail, edges folded neatly. She picked it up, reading aloud. Your presence in the community has shown worth and strength. We regret past misjudgments. She looked up, eyes bright. They see now. Respect replaces mockery. Letters like this, it feels lighter, freer. It should, he said quietly. Recognition is right, but what matters is the life you've built, not their approval. She leaned against the rail, gazing across the sunlit fields. I've built more than fences and barns, she said. I've built courage. I've built steadiness. I've built dignity. You've always had it, he said. You just had to see it yourself. She inhaled deeply, the prairie wind lifting dust and grass around her. I see it now, she whispered. And it feels safe. Whole. The children called her again, tugging at her sleeves. Come play. The foal's following us. She laughed, warmth spreading through her chest. All right, she said, brushing off dust from her dress. She ran lightly after them, hair catching the last rays of sunlight. He followed slowly, hands resting on the porch rail. You've found balance, he said to himself, quiet enough that only he heard. Strength, kindness, hope, all here now. She paused at the edge of the prairie, hand brushing tall grass swaying in the wind. The colors of dusk painted the horizon, gold, rose, soft violet blending into deepening blue. This feels like the end of something, she said softly, but also the start of peace. And it's mine. You earned it, he said. Every tear, every effort, every day of work, it all led here. You can walk this land knowing that. She turned her face to the sun dipping below the hills, chest lifting steadily, shoulders easing. I am no longer haunted, she said quietly. No longer defined by their cruelty. A foal nudged her gently, and she laughed, brushing its soft neck. Even kindness can be small, quiet, unnoticed, yet it matters more than words. The children ran past again, calling greetings to the cowboy, who tipped his hat silently, pride and respect gleaming in his eyes. She returned a smile, heart light, every old fear replaced by steady joy. She walked along the prairie, hand brushing the tall grass, feeling the dust beneath her boots, the breeze on her face, the vast skies stretching endlessly above. I am seen, she whispered. I am valued. I am free. The cowboy's presence remained close, unwavering, a calm shadow at the edge of her vision. Safety and steadiness are yours now, he said. The rest is yours to claim. She exhaled fully, eyes lifting to the horizon. The ranch, the animals, the children, the land, it all bore witness to her journey. Shame endured, kindness received, courage found, dignity restored. I am home, she said softly, stepping forward with quiet certainty, boots pressing into the warm dust. And it feels right. The sky blazed briefly in orange and rose, the prairie quieting under the evening light. She stopped, hand on the grass, letting the world settle around her. For the first time, fully and completely, she felt at peace. The cowboy tipped his hat once more, his eyes reflecting pride, respect, and a steady warmth that needed no words. She met his gaze, nodding slightly, a quiet understanding passing between them. The horizon glowed softly, endless and warm, and in that light, she walked forward, no longer an outcast, fully seen, fully valued, and finally at peace.